I decided to create this new massage for Touch Starvation. I posted an ad, and I have never had a woman reply to my ad. It has only been men. And I think it's because men have a hard time asking for love and for affection. And a lot of them are touch starved because it's not as acceptable for men to show affection and to ask for touch without appearing weak. And even last night, I had a call from a gentleman that wants to book a massage, but is just so anxious. And I called him and we talked for 5 minutes, and he goes, I'm like 40 years old and I've never said the words, I am starving for touch to any human that I know, but I'm able to say it to you because I know you will understand and you will not think less of me. And that is literally what I hear every single day.
Welcome to the podcast that guides men to demystify and develop their intuition. I'm your host, Doug Bites. Let's dig into the science and expand your horizons. Okay, welcome back to another podcast. My guest today is Kat Anna. Kat's spiritual journey started in 2011 when she was in her 30s and was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. It forced her to ask herself some hard questions in order to improve her physical, emotional, mental, and energetic health. Kat is a holistic healer and Reiki master, a spiritual coach, and an expert on touch starvation. She is passionate about exploring the often overlooked link between touch and our nervous system and our overall health. With an integrated approach, love, and compassion, she guides her clients to unlock their healing potential and find harmony within. We spoke for the first time a few weeks ago and had a surprising number of things in common. Kat, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Doug.
Oh, it's my pleasure. All right, so tell us about your journey during and after the thyroid cancer diagnosis. What happened there in your life?
Yes, so it was 2011, and I had 3 children. They were 3, 6, and 9. And I started to feel really sick and just had this really weird feeling in my throat. Went to the doctor. They said, oh, it's probably anxiety. And I said, no, I need you guys to take a biopsy and like to have an ultrasound. And I really pushed because I felt in my intuition that something was wrong. And prior to this, I'd never seen a doctor except for the 3 pregnancies that I had. And so I really pushed, had my diagnosis, had surgery. The cancer had spread to my lymph nodes, so I also needed total body radiation with radioactive iodine. And then after the healing, after I went through all of that in that summer, I decided to go back to work because I'd been at home with my children until that time. And first I felt like a victim, right? I was like, I'm doing all these things, I'm running, I'm taking care of myself, I'm eating healthy. Like, why, God, why did this happen to me? And I was angry for a little bit. And then I started to really ask myself, what is the lesson in this? Why me? Why now? And how did I contribute to my own disease? And I realized that I'd been silencing myself my whole life, that I was a people pleaser, that I was disconnected from myself. I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know, I was not connected to myself at all. And I was just living for others, as I think a lot of women are that are mothers and wives. And it started the process of me really looking at my relationships, my work, my nervous system. Even I realized I'd been in flight or fight my whole life without even realizing it. That was just my baseline. That's how I was living. And I decided to end my marriage. I decided to start learning Reiki and go on this journey of trying to heal my body. At that time, I also during the surgery, had a lot of trouble with my blood pressure. So when I woke up from the surgery, I realized I had stage 4. Well, they told me I had stage 4 hypertension. My blood pressure was like 220 over 150 at the age of 33. So I also had to go through that whole bunch of heart tests and all these things. And they were asking me, like, are you happy? And I'm like, yes, I have a great life. I have a great husband. I have a job. I have 3 kids. Like, I'm really happy. And it was very, very hard to eventually look at myself in the mirror and realize that I had anxiety, and also there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of things that I was not dealing with, that I was ignoring, and there was anxiety in the home that was also affecting me. So it was just, yeah, taking a really, really hard look at myself and being very honest with myself. So I feel like having cancer really did save my life, because it made me ask those hard questions. Um, and I'm happy to say that my blood pressure is back to normal, and they consider me a medical miracle. Because once I learned to calm down my nervous system, control my thoughts, and get rid of this anxiety, and be in a happier relationship, or even just by myself, um, all that stuff went away.
So
So
that first doctor, even though you pushed him hard to do some tests, was kind of right, did need to do the extra tests, but suggesting that you had anxiety was actually on the money, but
yes,
hadn't thought ahead that this anxiety has been here for a while and it's caused
yes.
physical issues. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason they said that is because I was having a tight sensation in my neck that was making me literally claw at my clothes during different times of the day. Like, I couldn't breathe. So they thought that was the anxiety, but that was actually my blood pressure being 220, and me having the nodules and like the tumors in my thyroid, which is right here. So I think that was causing a lot of the sensations that I was having in my neck, like I was being choked, but I was not. But yeah, ultimately they were right.
Yeah, yeah. But just as well, you pushed them to see that
I
it had
did.
gone a bit further.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really had to advocate for myself. Yes, I did.
yeah. So it's interesting you said there, like you felt up to that point you'd been a people pleaser. So do you feel that you, up to that point, you had trouble speaking up for yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And as a child, growing up in an unpredictable household with a father that was an alcoholic, I looked for other people's moods, and tried to figure out what was safe and what was not, and I was not connected to my own feelings. And much like my generation, we were not really asked about our feelings. If we were upset or we were yelling or we were mad, we were told to go to our room. So yeah, it was very hard to kind of know how to connect to myself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. I'm considerably older, so those parenting things were like even more enforced in my era. And yeah, I had the same alcoholic father, and yeah, it was. There were definitely times you did not speak.
Yes.
Yes, you knew. Yeah, because I watched Mum speak, and that caused issues, and it's like, ooh, just leave him alone. Yeah, yeah, no, I get
Yes,
that,
and
and
as children, we learn very quickly when we can talk and when we can't. And
mm,
children were not meant to be heard or seen at that time,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah, I just could never believe that how much my mum did speak up, because my dad was 6 foot tall and my mum was 4'10", and yeah, she, and now I think she's shrunk. She's 4'6" now at 92, and yeah, yeah, but she would speak up. She would, yeah, and that didn't calm things down. I can tell you, she's got a bit of Italian in her, and yeah, yeah,
Does she?
yeah.
Well, good for her, but sometimes that can put you in some danger, right?
Yeah, I mean, and nothing physical ever happened. It was all
Yes.
verbal, but it created a lot of emotions in the house
Hmm.
that I didn't enjoy, I can tell you. Yeah, yeah. Now, talking a bit, when we talked a couple of weeks ago, we found that we'd both studied. I've only done a 3-day class. I think you've done considerably more studies than me, with an unusual sound therapy thing of biotuning using tuning forks. Now, I told you a bit of a story last time of my first experience of having someone using that. So I'm not going to go into that now. But the lady who did the session with me probably 6 to 7 years ago, since we last spoke, she sent a newsletter out, and she's just started a podcast with 4 episodes out. So yesterday I had to go on a long drive, and I listened to 3 of her 4 episodes. And she goes right into the science of what's going on with all the vibration in the body, and how the tuning forks work with specific frequencies. Very, very interesting. And now I listened to a podcast that you were on recently, and on there you started talking about, and this is the thing that really attracted me to want to talk to you about this, because it's not something I've come across before, people talking about, with the touch therapy. And a lot of things she talked about, using the tuning forks and the vibration and the resonance in the body, occasionally it would make me think about the interview I listened to of yours recently, with the touch therapy and the vibration and all of the resonance. So it was quite interesting that just yesterday I came across that. And so talk to us about this touch therapy that you've either stumbled across or developed, or what, where did it come from, and where's it headed?
I created my own type of massage that is specifically for people who experience touch starvation. And the reason that it's different is because I use 3 different types of pressure on the skin to wake up your whole skin, to send those messages to your nervous system that you are being loved and that you are being safe, to calm down your nervous system. And a lot of the people have had great success with getting rid of some of those symptoms that they were experiencing from touch starvation. And I mean, if you really think about it, the way I look at it is our skin is our largest organ. On any given part of your body, in an inch of skin, you have thousands of nerve receptors that send messages to your nervous system about touch, about temperature, about pressure and pain. And what I find is fascinating is that we often overlook our skin as such an important organ that has so much impact on whether we are in our relaxed nervous system or our stress response and our stress nervous system. So with this massage, I just really focused on also the speed of the massage. Our skin likes to be touched at about 3 centimeters per second. So I've really done a lot of research into the types of touch, the speed, and just also using energy healing alongside with that. And I've had just some profound results.
Interesting. So where did you get this information with this 3 centimeters per second?
I've just done a lot of research, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of information on touch starvation. I mean, people know that it exists. People know that babies experience it and the elderly, but there's not a lot of talk on what we do in between those 2 ages, and how we can easily become touch starved, even if we are in a relationship. So I just did a lot of research because I experienced it in my last relationship, which is what made me look into this issue and realize that, wow, this is something that people are experiencing. And it's also something that people are experiencing more of very recently because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a little puppy dog. I don't know if you're familiar with the breed. It's a newish breed, the Cavoodle, half poodle, half Cavalier. And the poodle's very hypo, but the Cavalier's very passive. And we have her inside because she doesn't shed any hair because of the poodle. And I think her love language is touch, because the moment, like, if you didn't see it, if you haven't seen it for the last 5 minutes, she'll suddenly act like she hasn't seen you in 5 days. And she's jumping up, she's all over you and wanting to lick you. And so I was thinking about the 3 centimeters per second, which you're from Canada, I'm from Australia. For the poor Americans, that's about 1.25 inches per second. And I'm thinking that's about the rate that I pat my dog. And I'm trying to think how long ago, probably 30 years ago, I went and did a real basic Swedish massage course. So I understand, very rusty at it, not good at it, but I did probably an 8-week course, probably about 20 hours. So I sort of do that a little bit on the dog sometimes when she's getting real boisterous, sort of calm, and she just loves it. And I'm probably moving my fingers at about that rate. Because if you moved them too fast or too slow. So when I was listening yesterday, I was thinking about the resonance, the vibration of the fingers on the skin moving at 3 centimeters a second. It's probably creating the correct vibrational frequency as the fingers go across the skin. And because listening to the biotuning thing yesterday, like all of those tuning forks are very specific frequencies.
Yes.
And so then the touch on the skin at that rate would create a very specific frequency, and it's something that we need that makes us feel better or wherever.
Yes. It
Yeah,
just wakes up those skin receptors as well on the skin. That again just tell your body that you're being loved and that you're being nurtured and that you're safe. Because we know like fast touch doesn't make us fast and hard touch does not make us feel safe. And we
right.
instinctively know this. We instinctively know this, just like you know how to pet your dog and
Yeah,
calm her down in minutes.
yeah, yeah. And actually listening to the thing about the specific parts of the body, and the specific chakras that are all activated with specific frequencies. And some of them, relate to the heart, make us feel good. Some of them release certain chemicals, dopamine, and all sorts of other things. And then the other thing I'm curious, you said you have 3 different ways that you touch, or 3 different pressures,
Yeah,
or
yeah, 3 different types of pressure. So the first type of pressure would be like your standard Swedish massage, where I apply a little bit of pressure with my palm.
Mhm.
The second type would just be the weight of my hand. And the third is using my fingertips. Um, and that is also the one that produces the most oxytocin because it's that light type of touch that wakes up your skin. And what it also does, I find, especially for men, is after a while when you're rubbing your skin, you stop feeling it because the motion is just, the feeling is
Mhm.
just repetitive. But when you switch between the 3 different types of pressure, it wakes up your skin over and over and over. So I think that's where they're getting a lot of the oxytocin, which is doing a lot for their body and for their mind. And I think it gets the men out of their head because they can't think about their problems. They can't think about work because their skin is constantly waking up and it's getting them out of their head and into their body. And I think that's one of the most beautiful parts about it.
Yeah. And I have heard you speak that, with the touch therapy, a lot of your clients are men. And is that something that like it's just happened, or something you've sought, like marketed that way, or?
No, when I realized I had touch starvation, I did all this research. And because I was already doing therapeutic massage and hot stone massage in my healing center, I decided to create this new massage for touch starvation. I posted an ad, and I have never had a woman reply to my ad. It has only been men. And I think it's because men have a hard time asking for love and for affection. And a lot of them are touch starved because it's not as acceptable for men to show affection and to ask for touch without appearing weak. And even last night, I had a call from a gentleman that wants to book a massage, but is just so anxious. And I called him and we talked for 5 minutes, and he goes, I'm like 40 years old and I've never said the words, I am starving for touch to any human that I know, but I'm able to say it to you because I know you will understand and you will not think less of me. And that is literally what I hear every single day.
Feel free. Yeah, for the listeners, Kat and I talked about this a few weeks ago about, I read a book, 30 plus years ago, called The 5 Languages of Love. And reading that book, I found my primary language was touch. And I know probably 5 or 6 times we've been to Thailand on vacation. We always get this little apartment right near the beach, and there is a ridiculous amount of massage therapists in Thailand, and a lot of them have a set up on the beach, and you go, and it's cheap, and as you're going along, they're sort of like, massage, and so it costs about, well, we haven't been since COVID, but pre-COVID it was about $10 for an hour, and yeah, so we would go for like 3 weeks, and I wouldn't miss a day. I mean, I never got 2 in one day. I never went that extreme, but yeah, wouldn't miss a day. And down I would go, and my wife would go, but she would only go maybe every 3rd or 4th day because she has a different primary love language. And I just lay there, and I'd just be off with the fairies, like you said. Like I would, like I'd have to like sometimes make sure I didn't nod off to sleep because I would because I would start snoring and
Yes.
embarrass myself. But they would all, the Thai ladies, they would all be like laughing and giggling anyway with us crazy, expatriates there anyway. But yeah, every day just wouldn't miss it, and it just made me feel was just what I needed every day. Yeah, it's awesome.
That sounds so amazing.
Yeah, so I'm not backward in coming forward in, getting a massage or whatever. And of course, in Australia, I do it a lot less frequently because things are considerably more expensive here in Australia. But yeah, just how things are. So now you shared with me, so your primary love language is touch?
Touch, yes.
Yeah. And so now you're kind of doubling up here. You're touching other people for a living. They're paying you, and you're getting your primary love language met.
I am.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And actually, a couple of months ago, I interviewed another lady, Michelle Lee. She had, she was an Aussie lady. She'd rowed from Mexico to Australia in a boat on her own, 240 days, paddled across the ocean. And we had a big conversation. And she's a massage therapist. And she said, like, and I presume her primary love language is touch as well. We didn't have that discussion, but the way she describes it, she goes like, people pay me to like touch their body, and she goes, they have no idea how much it helps me. And so yeah. So she does a lot of corporate stuff where she goes into the offices and just, she does 10-minute sessions on 10 different people. Like the boss pays for it, and they come in, and all the executives get a shoulder and neck massage and that sort of stuff. And yeah. And I find, so when I was thinking of that analogy, I thought this podcast is like that, because this podcast I've got running now to help men develop their intuition. And I've started it to help me develop my intuition. Because, a couple of years ago, my intuition came online a lot more, but I couldn't interpret it. And so now I have people on, and like you, and we talk about things, and it helps the lights come on for me. And so I think it's a good way for people too, if anyone out there's listening and you've got a need in your life, you need to learn more about something or develop something, offer that assistance to someone else in some sort of way, in a paid or unpaid form, and you may help develop that for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I love hearing that having this podcast has helped you with your intuition.
Oh, phenomenally. Yeah, because it's on my mind so much, and it is, even without the podcast, it is foremost in my mind, like, and particularly helping men, because like you said, with the touch starvation, like, it's just culturally, I'll say in the Western world where I'm familiar anyway, we just, men are just told to suck it up and that sort of thing. But there's so much information in the world now that's half true. I mean, we're all overloaded with information on
we are.
Any scale. Like, it's just off the charts. And in my personal belief, not every piece of information we see, read, or hear is fully 100% true. So for me, it's like, how do I discern? Who do I go to? Who do I trust? And I've learned there is someone I can trust, and it's my inner knowing. And that's why I'm like, yeah, I want to get a gut feel. I want to know what's going on. And so people would say, well, Doug, if you want to develop your intuition and that, why have you got Kat on? How is she going to help you develop your intuition? When I've learned now about touch starvation and how important that is to keep myself balanced, I'm sharing that message with other men in the world. And when we keep our physical and emotional and mental and other selves balanced and in alignment, we can tap into our intuition so much easier. We can interpret it, understand it. So this stuff Kat's talking about is new to me, and I'm just lapping it up because it's like, wow, this is so interesting. So when I'm patting my dog or touching my wife, hugging my children, my grandchildren, etc., I have a new appreciation for it. Yeah.
Yes, for the gift that you're giving them,
Mm.
and the gift of love and the gift of touch. Just because you said hug, they say that we as humans need 4 hugs to live, 8 hugs a day to be happy, and 12 hugs a day to thrive
Wow.
and to grow.
Okay. Okay.
So
All right.
just with those simple numbers, if you work out of your house and you're not in a relationship,
Mm.
how are you surviving,
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
right?
Yeah. Where do you go for a hug? Yeah.
Yes.
And not everybody's into hugs. Some people are. I've I've got one male friend that vocally opposes hugs. Like it's not his language. He's at the opposite end. It's not. Yeah, and he's just like he's vocal about it, and he's like, I don't hug. It's like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he I don't know, maybe he gets he'd happily shake your hand. So he's he's not afraid to touch people. He's not
Yes.
whatever that phobia is where he doesn't want to get germs. He's nothing like that.
Mhm.
He'd definitely
Yeah.
shake your hand quite good, but
He's just
non-hugger.
not a hugger.
No, yeah. And it's the only person I know that actually is vocal about it. I don't hug. Just don't even think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
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 Don't touch me.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, interesting. So I'm curious, do you feel that you have, well, I'm thinking the answer is going to be yes here, but do you think you've got a sense of purpose for what you do?
Yes, I think I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that I was given this feeling of touch starvation myself. Um, and that was experiencing that in that relationship and really struggling with that is something that I needed to go through to be able to understand this. Because it's different if I just like stumbled upon it but never felt it. Like I felt the pain and the struggle of feeling touch starved while in a relationship. And it's made me want to scream about this from the rooftops, and especially towards men, and make touch okay for men. And just spread awareness about this issue that we all need to live.
Mm.
I think that, yeah, the quality and the amount of touch that we receive has an enormous impact on our physical, our emotional, and our mental well-being.
Mm. And I guess for you and I, we both feel that touch is our primary love language. So we're like harping on it. And other people, like if my friend who's like, is listening, he's going to
Mhm.
be like, this is a bit crazy. But
This is
there
not
are
right.
there are other love languages. There's words of affirmation, giving of gifts, and things like that. So, and if you think, oh yeah, like I like it when someone tells me I look nice or I did a good job, then that's probably where emotionally you might tap into. But we're all different. We all have things, and Kat and I just both happen to have that same love language where touch is our thing. I like people giving me words of affirmation. I like people giving me gifts, and I can't even remember the other two off the top of my head. But yeah, they're just not the main focus of my life. I'm not like, no one gave me a gift today. Um, I'm not going out seeking a gift. And I do know people like that, and it makes sense to me now that I would think they're materialistic if I didn't know love language. And now it's like, oh, that's their primary love language. They're always
Yes,
wanting a gift, but you know what? They're always giving gifts as well.
exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, and if you are love stuff, try and find someone you can hug, etc. And on that, Kat, now you're now offering something else I've never heard of before with all of your therapies, cuddle therapy. Tell us about that one.
Yes, yes, sir. Um, so cuddle therapy came about because one of the clients I was speaking to about the touch starvation massage said, "Do you do cuddle therapy?" And I was like, "What's that?" So I said, "No, I don't." And I thought it was really odd. And I started, Googling it. Thank God for Google. And there is a huge network of cuddle therapists in the States on the website called Cuddlist. So I signed up with them and I got trained. And a lot of the training is there's some training regarding the positions, the cuddling positions, but a lot of the training is on consent and how to create a safe environment, how to just be there and hold a space for someone and make them feel safe and make them feel loved, and boundaries and stuff like that. So that is something that I added to my touch starvation treatment. And a lot of the clients either do cuddle therapy on their own or after the touch starvation massage. And it's been amazing. And
Wow.
what a blessing for me to do the thing that I love doing the most, and that is giving love, comforting, nurturing, and holding someone and making them feel loved and making them feel seen and heard and making them feel safe.
Right.
So
So would that cuddle session be combined with a massage or separate day or different
it
day?
would be the same day. It would be like after the massage, they would get dressed, and then I have a space in the healing center where we can just lay down or sit on the couch and have a cuddle afterwards. And
Right.
it's because we're so connected, right? During the massage, because I use energy healing, so they connect to my energy, whether they understood that before they walked in or not.
Mm.
They acknowledge that they feel connected to me. Um, and the massage is very loving and very nurturing. So after that, it's just a beautiful way for us to connect again, and they feel safe. And a lot of things come to the surface, a lot of emotions come to the surface. And it's sort of like I'm not opening a can of worms and sending them home. They get to just be comfortable for maybe half an hour or an hour afterwards and maybe share some of the feelings that came up.
Okay, so they're verbalizing some of the emotions that they're experiencing as well. Right.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. Very
Sometimes they're
interesting.
completely silent with their eyes closed the whole time.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have any particular sound therapy happening while that's going on? Like any particular music playing or anything as well, or not?
I play a jeet. She has very feminine music that I think helps a lot of the people relax. And I use weighted tuning forks to break up energy.
Hmm.
Sometimes when I initially start the massage and I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff here, I will put the weighted tuning forks on the chakras and just break it all up and then continue. And as I'm giving them Reiki and a massage, I can feel that it's loosening and it's removed. And that's also a lot of the times why they feel so energized and they feel lighter and they feel just more open and they're actually more connected to their heart and to their feelings is because we've removed some of this negative energy.
Yeah. And having had multiple biotuning sessions with tuning forks, I completely understand. Like those when I've had it done, they're going into certain parts on the body with the fork, and all of a sudden they find dissonance with the fork, where it's not sounding nice anymore. It's like, oh, this part, when we move it close to this part of the body, it's not resonating nicely anymore. And so they keep working that part, not physically, there's no physical touch with the tuning fork onto my skin. They bring it in fairly close, and then eventually that part of my body starts to resonate with the fork and that releases. And I'm I guess I haven't had one for a couple of years now, and I was a little bit less sensitive back then. But the therapist was sort of saying to me, "Is anything coming up for you?" And here's another one too, which you would understand, and for the listeners, the biofield extends out, what is it, about 5 to 6 feet on either side of our body,
6
roughly?
feet on either side and 3
Yeah.
feet in the front.
Yeah. So she would come in, like say she's coming in on my right knee and she gets a certain distance from my body, from that 6 feet. She'll go, "Did you have an issue with something or other around the age of 24?" And you're like, "What?" Because I think the 6 feet mark is where we were. That's our current age, isn't it? And then close to the body is
It's right
at
now.
birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
close to the body's right now, and out on the edge is birth. Yeah.
6 feet out is birth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she's able to actually roughly work. I mean, it's just giving it rough, like she
Yeah.
hasn't got a tape measure out, but yeah, she's like, boom, and it's like, oh, okay, and quite often I'll be like, no, because I'm a bit brain dead back then, and well, it's not brain dead, a lot less sensitive to things. I'm a lot more discerning and intuitive now, and yeah, so very interesting. So what she's doing is she's releasing that stuck emotion, and that sounds exactly like what you're doing with the Reiki, with the weighted tuning fork. You're breaking up that stuck
Yeah.
energy, and it's releasing a lot of emotions. And some of those men who are just laying there silent for an hour or more are probably like, if I make one noise here, it's all going to come out like, they'd be a blubbering mess, and they're just holding their shit together, keeping it in. I know.
Sometimes I feel like that's the case. But I do individual sound healing sessions outside of the touch starvation therapy. And that's usually on women who seek out more Reiki treatments and sound healing treatments. And I had a gentleman here one day that was like, you don't know what's like, and like, how can you tell what's in my energy field, right? And I said, okay, well, you sit here. And I took the tuning fork and I went across his heart chakra and I was like, okay, well, what happened when you were 10? And he's like, I watched my brother get hit by a car. And he goes, I haven't thought about that in 30 years. And he's like, holy.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was just like messing around, kind of not even
yeah,
giving him a treat, saying like,
yeah,
this is what it looks like, this is what it sounds like, and this is kind of the idea. And I was trying to explain it to him.
yeah.
And he just went, whoa.
Yeah. So the tuning fork. So for the people listening, he had the thought because you tapped into that with that vibration from the
Yeah.
tuning fork, tapped into that stuck emotion in
Yeah.
that part of his body, and you were able to tell roughly the age because of the
Yeah.
distance that the fork did it from his body. And some people are listening to us right now going, Doug and Kat, total
You
hocus
guys are
pocus.
crazy.
You two have lost the plot. I'm turning the podcast off now. Out of here. Fine, turn it off. In a couple of months, something will happen and you'll turn it back on again. You'll go like, all right, I've had 3 other things similar to this now. I've got to go back and find that podcast of that crazy Doug and Kat talking about these tuning fork things and these
Yeah.
emotions and stuck. And how can they do that? That's rubbish. It's not rubbish. It's like tuning into a radio station, and it's science. And there's a book called, I can't remember. There's a lady called Eileen McCusack, and biofield tuning or something like.
Tuning,
Yeah,
energetic health. Yeah.
yeah. It's been 6 years since I first read it the first time, so I haven't looked the title up that long. And she's got another one on the electric universe or something like that.
Electric body, electric health. That's the
Yes.
last one I read. It's really, really good. You should read
Oh,
it.
yeah,
It's
I think
I love
it's
her.
awesome. Yeah, and it talks about how if we treat our body as an electrical system, we will physically and emotionally get on so much better if we start to understand that sort of thing happening. Yeah, yeah, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
we can literally make our organs be in tune. And like she even says, like, I can eat anything I want. I do not gain weight because my body is in tune and everything is at the frequency that it should be at.
Mm,
So yeah, there's it's really beautiful.
yeah, yeah. So I'm curious, have you, like this journey you've been on, um, is it just stuff you've all studied together, you Googled it all, you put it all together, or have you had mentors to help guide you?
Um I have mentors that are Reiki healers. Um, I have a friend that's been doing the tuning fork on me, so I know exactly what feelings you experience when you're having it done, and how powerful it is. And I have I'm surrounded by a lot of healers of different modalities that have been there for my journey and have opened my eyes to just different things and helped me connect to those different parts and aspects of our health. So I would say yes, I do have a few mentors. I've taken a lot of online courses, especially during COVID, because I had a lot of free time and nothing was, in person. So I've done a lot of that, and I would love to do Eileen McCusick's like full course. I have not done that yet, so
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
that's on my to-do list. Even though like I use it, um, and I use it with my Reiki as well. So I find that just the two of them together, biofield tuning and Reiki, is just like a beast.
Yep.
I find that they work really well together because you're able to pick up on a lot more stuff
Mm-hmm.
and the emotions and just like connect on a deeper level. So I really like combining those two.
Yeah. I'll send you the link to this podcast I mentioned yesterday
I
because
would love to.
she's on there and she's giving a lot of. She's not a scientific. She has another gentleman on there with her, and he's sort of asking her questions, and they're very different personalities. And I haven't met him, but I've met her in person multiple times. And she was probably guest number 12 on the podcast, Amanda Mackay, and but yeah, the info she's got out now is just very complimentary to Eileen McCusick's books, and the science of how using those tuning forks works and the resonance and dissonance. And yeah, it's actually, I probably shouldn't have listened to 3 podcasts yesterday. It was just information overload. She gives a lot of information, and
Wow.
yeah, no, it's great.
Gonna take you a few more days to process.
Yes,
'Cause that's a
exactly.
lot.
Yeah, integrate
Yeah.
it in. Yeah. And that's and you're not, podcasts, and it's not just people shooting the breeze on a podcast. It's she's done a lot of research and she's given a lot of info. Something else I want to ask you too. On your website, you've got some photos there of cupping, like with on marks
Yeah.
on people's backs. And now the hot and cold water therapy place I go to, I often see people with these marks on their back. In the last few days, they've had some
Yeah.
therapy. And you've got a picture there. It talks about toxins being removed, 31-year-old firefighter. Now, I'm ex-professional firefighter, so I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, and back in my day, the breathing apparatus sets and all that were not, and protective clothing were nowhere near what they are now. And I remember coming back from a fire, like we would put our masks on, breathing from the compressed air in the cylinder, and we would have this head harness. But my hair was a little bit longer in those days, and I found with sweating,
Yeah.
the mask actually got loose because my hair would then squash down, and then I'd get back to the station, and I'd have these 2 black lines going into my nose from all the soot, and that was I was still breathing in, even though I had the mask on, and I should have
Yeah.
been breathing pure air. I was in training a lot of very toxic stuff in. So how
Wow.
does this cupping work? What's removing toxins?
So cupping is an old Chinese type of medicine. And there's different types of cupping. There is the glass cups where you take a lighter or a flame, you put it inside the glass cup, it removes the oxygen, you put it on the body, and it sucks the tissue into the cup. And those were the ones, some people still do that a lot, but those are the original cups. They have now created these plastic cups that have a gun that sucks out the air, and
Right.
also silicone cups that you just use your hand pressure to control the amount of tissue that you're going to suck into the cup. You put the cups on tight muscles. There's some acupressure points for different ailments and different injuries. And basically what it does is it brings the blood from within 5 inches deep of your body to the surface, and it creates a bruise, right? So it's a real bruise, but without impact, without an injury. And what happens is it draws out the toxins through the skin, and it creates new blood vessels and more of a blood supply to the tissue that's been injured, or the tissue that's hurting, or the tissue that's not moving properly, or that's sore. And to me, I mean, the point of massage is to bring blood to that tissue, right? Is to create movement, bring blood to the tissue, um, to induce healing. So to me, even like 5 or 10 minutes of a cup on certain body parts is like the equivalent to like 10 hours of massage. That's how I look at it, because that is how much pressure I would have to apply that would possibly be also very painful to get that amount of blood into the tissue. Right? Never mind the fact that I can't pull out toxins during a massage. So I have a firefighter that I actually was working with at the end of last year, and we did breath holding before the cupping. Okay, so I would use the cupping massage, and I would have oil, and it would take about 20 minutes for the toxins to start coming up and dissolving into the oil, and I would scoop it out and put it into a jar. I had a jar of this stuff.
So sorry, just going back. So this is not cupping. You're just
So this is cupping, but it's
right.
not
Okay.
stationary cupping, which is used for
Oh,
like
okay.
injuries and getting circulation. This is a cupping massage. So what I did is I put a lot of oil on the back, and then I would move the cup, right? So I would draw out the toxins without creating bruises into the oil, and then I would scoop the oil so it wasn't absorbed back into the body, and then I would put it in a jar, or I would put it in like a white dish so that I could see when the stuff settles what was on the bottom. So I've done that. I've done that to a welder, and I could actually see, and I still have it in a jar, believe it or not, and I can actually see little metal particles being pulled from his lungs and from his tissue. And yeah, it's just crazy. So this is the black stuff that I was pulling from his lungs, and his breath retention improved. We did 2 rounds of breath holding before the cupping, and then 2 rounds of breath holding afterwards. And within each time, his breath hold would improve for at least 30 seconds.
Wow. That's
So like you could see improved lung function right away. And yeah, and I wish that they had this for available for a lot of the firefighters. I actually read somewhere that there was a study in the States where they are taking firefighters and they are performing this on a regular basis, and they're making studies, and they have a whole thing, but it hasn't been published yet. So I'm waiting for that to come up, because I would love to see those results in that study.
yeah. So was this specific firefighter having respiratory issues or not?
No, he's not. It's just something that he came from massage, and I found out he was a firefighter. So it's something I explained to him, and he said, like, this is crazy. I want to see the stuff that comes out of my lungs. And we did that. And he was like, wow. So he's been back a few times, and same with the welder.
Yeah.
So
Oh, for sure.
I wish that was offered to a lot of people, because yeah, they suffer from a lot of lung damage. And like now the fires that we have in Canada, um my nephew was fighting the fires, and they don't even get a mask. They just have like
yeah.
a tissue or like a bandana, something covering their face. So I mean, I'm dreading thinking about the stuff that he's been inhaling there this summer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just thinking of, the asbestosis too. Like, years ago, I've no idea what the rules are over there, but
Mm.
25, 30 years ago, they banned asbestos being in all sorts of building products,
Yeah.
and that sits in your body for many years and that sort of thing. And yeah, whether the cupping would draw that out of the lungs as well before it became a problem. So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. It'd be interesting to analyze what's coming out. If you could send
I
that off to a lab
know.
and go, yeah, tell us
That's
what's
why I'm
in here.
saving it,
Yeah,
Doug. That's why I'm saving it.
yeah, and not just tell us what's in it, but
Yeah.
what's in it is unusual. Like, because obviously some things are probably normal
Yes.
in everybody for whatever reason. For
Yes.
they're not necessarily bad things, but yeah, I tell you, I have tried a few times, and I've still got some. These pads that you stick under the sole of your feet while you're in bed at night. Have you seen those?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they pull them off and they're black in the morning. And I'm like, is this real or is this a scam? Like, if they just put something on there that when it's been on your skin for sort of 8 hours, it'll turn black? Or is it really drawing something out of the soles of my feet? So is
Yeah.
this similar principle that just using herbs or whatever it is?
Yeah, and I've seen those too, and some people that I know have tried them. I haven't heard of like amazing like benefits where like you actually notice a difference with the toxins leaving your body. I do believe that they're true. There's also like a foot bath where it gets plugged into a socket, and I think it's just like um it has an electrical current, so it pulls out like negative ions, and it creates this gunk in the foot soak. And it's the same thing. It's very similar. It's very thick, it's very black, and it pulls out all those toxins. But you can also use slices of onions and put them in your socks before you go to bed.
Really?
Because onions have something that help your lungs clear out stuff that shouldn't be there. And apparently that's, yeah, one of the ways it comes out from your body is through your feet. So
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
I've even, with the onion, I've heard people say you cut an onion in half and put the two slices beside your bed if you're sick in bed with a cold and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
every time you cough or sneeze, apparently the onions absorb all this sort of stuff and stop it being, it's not sucking it out of your body. It's just
Hmm.
a place for it to absorb it, so it's not staying in the room.
Yeah, it's
So
not airborne. Yeah.
they say with an onion, if you cut it in half, don't put the half in the refrigerator on its own. You've got to put it in something sealed because it'll absorb all of the odors and things in your bacteria and stuff that's in your refrigerator. So it's good for that, but just make sure you
Yeah.
don't cook with that onion again unless you've got it sealed up if it's been cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. All
I,
right.
I didn't hear about that one. So that's
Never,
good to know.
yeah, so yeah, if you cut it, some cling wrap
Don't
on it,
use it.
or in a container, like so it can't absorb all the, yeah, it's likes to absorb things. Um, I've covered pretty much most of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd love to share, or
No,
no? You got it there.
I think we've covered a lot of the stuff.
Okay, so I'm going
Um,
to have your contact details in the show notes. Um, you do, what do you offer online that people from different parts of the world can access?
I have several virtual sessions that are available online. I have 90-minute sessions for overcoming touch starvation. And that's just basically looking at the severity, looking at what your options are for treatment, stuff that you can do on your own that will help you. I have sessions for women with unlocking pleasure and how to experience pleasure on a deeper level by relaxing their nervous system and removing some of the trauma that's in the body and that's also in the energetic field that's keeping them from experiencing pleasure. And I have the same type of thing, and it's for erectile health for men, because their energetic field and again trauma and their nervous system could be contributing to having erectile issues. I have long distance Reiki. I have passionate couples, which is for couples that want to reignite their intimacy and learn about touch and learn how to reconnect to each other. I have some spiritual coaching sessions, and I also have a 6-week program on self love, and that is for men and for women.
Wow. Okay, you've been busy putting a lot of things together. I guess COVID helped with all that.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, we didn't enjoy all that time so much, but the world has changed in some ways, I think, considerably for the better. That we've now got access to things in a different way. Yeah. So yeah, very interesting. Thank you for your time today. I've loved it. And just to reiterate to the listeners, we're here talking about men helping them develop their intuition. Everything Kat's talked about is helpful with our intuition because we're sorting our body out emotionally, physically, energetically, and we're able to cut through the static a lot more, or a lot of the static that's around us will go away. Intuitive messages will come through clearer, and it's great. And when I heard Kat was talking about this sort of stuff, I thought, wow, I've got to have her on for the listeners, because this is not something that's mainstream. And yeah, excellent. So thank you so much for your time today, Kat.
Thank you so much, Doug, for having me. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. And thank you for all the work that you're doing for men and sharing all this information and helping them tap into their intuition. And yeah, I love what you're doing.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, we're at the end of another thought-provoking episode. Remember to subscribe so you'll be alerted to new episodes. I want to say thank you to the men who are joining me on this journey of intuitive development. I truly hope our time together has expanded your reality and reinforced trust in your ever-reliable gut feeling. Embrace your intuition. It will not lead you astray. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and trust your gut.